All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Split Decisions for episode number 2. That was a crazy fight out number 7, don't you think?
Wow. Best is blessed, baby.
Max Holloway looked unreal. I can't believe it. I was on cater, and man, I'm regretting that.
He didn't win a single second of that fight. It was a mismatch. It's that pressure from Holloway just was the difference.
Yeah. Here on Fight Island 8, though, we got Neal Magny and Michael Chiesa headlining it, getting into our first fight here. All right, here we go with Victoria Leonardo and Manon Ferrar. Victoria Leonardo has the stronger schedule and competition. She fought that Giorgio, I don't know if I'm saying that right, from Georgia. Fiora has an opponent schedule of 4 and 8. Lots of opponents with losses.
Questionable competition, that's for sure.
In this fight, I think you're going to see Leonardo trying to take the fight to the ground. She's really strong there. She thinks that, I've seen a video, she thinks she can strike with Fiora. I don't know if that's a good idea. What do you see in this fight?
Well, with Leonardo coming off that second round KO, I can see why she would feel like she would have the striking advantage. I don't think that's going to be the case in this one. Furio is coming in 5-1 out of France with 4 KO finishes, and she's actually fought in a 5-round fight in the regional scene. Her experience is questionable, the people she's fought, but I like the way she closes distance. I like her Muay Thai. I like the elbows and knees in up close, and I really think her striking is going to get it done in this one.
All right, so I'm going to go with Victoria Leonardo. You're going to go with Fiora?
Taking Furo.
All right.
All right, guys, we got Umar Nurmagomedov making his debut against fellow Sergi Morozov. Sergi Morozov spent most of his career in M1 Global back in Russia, as well as Nurmagomedov fighting around Russia, as well as Professional Fight League. Both Sergi and Nurmagomedov have a ground game. I'd give the edge in the ground game to Nurmagomedov, obviously. Even though he's not quite the ground, he has the ground game the rest of his family does. Don't get me wrong. But he doesn't use it in the way Khabib does. You want to explain that, Chevy?
Yeah, Umar, he's more of a striker first, but he's not afraid to take you down in the open mat. Khabib, when he works his takedowns, if you watch him, he likes to get you up against the cage, take you down, control your legs, and wrap him up with his legs. Umar's not gonna do that. He's probably gonna hit you, and then if you go to the ground, he'll take you easily down to the ground. He don't mind that, but he's looking to throw head kicks, and Sergi is no slaps on the ground either. So I think the odds makers have this one wrong. This is pretty far odds. I don't agree with.
Even though he was submitted by one of Nurmagomedov's relatives, back in a submission match.
Yeah, I don't agree with the odds. They're pretty far apart. This could be a lot closer, and have a lot of people scared of parlays.
So who are you picking there?
I'm taking Umar still, but I'm just saying I wouldn't be surprised with a right hand landing on Umar and putting him out. But I think Umar's way better martial artist. He's a green guy, but he's gotten better every fight.
He's young. He's got a lot to improve on. The only thing that worries me is when he throws those kicks in closing distance, he leaves it open to be countered. But I also have Nurmagomedov in this one, even though the odds are a little out of whack.
All right, here we go. We got Mason Jones versus Mike Davis. Mason Jones is the 155 slight underdog here, and Mike Davis is the minus 195 favorite. In the last 5, Mike Davis is 3-2 with an overall record of 8-2, and the Dragon Mason Jones is undefeated at 10-0. What do you got in this one?
It's worth noting that those 2 losses in Mike Davis' career are both in the UFC. One of them during the Contender Series against Sadiq Youssef, being a banger of a fight, a fantastic fight. I like Mike Jones, big boy. He fights like hard boxer. He's got very crisp boxing, good defense. He can bring it to the ground. He's got wrestling. He's tough. He can recover. But after that fight against Sadiq Youssef, they gave him a can in Thomas Gilford. I hate to call him that, but it was rough. It was a worse beating than the Cater Holloway thing I just witnessed.
I think this is going to be a tale of what happens. Footwork is going to be the key in this. I think if Mike Davis can stay on the outside and keep Mason Jones off of him, I think he could pick him apart. But Mason Jones just has relentless pressure from what we've seen. He hasn't fought UFC caliber yet, so we don't know what that's going to transition to like in the UFC. But Mike Davis is definitely a tough test for anybody coming in. And I think I'll take Mason Jones in this fight. What do you think?
I like Mason Jones as well. The UFC seems to like him. They're promoting him well. Dude out of Wales, undefeated, double champ at Cage Warriors. Finished both of those fights right here in the belt. He asked for the biggest, baddest dude when he came in here, and he's getting a good guy. It's worth noting that both of those losses that he'd taken are both in the UFC, so you don't know what you're gonna get from Mike Davis, and it's a tough one. But I think the pressure from Mason Jones, and once he gets you up against the cage, he lands those knees and elbows, takes you down, and he has an aggressive submission game. I'm taking Mason Jones in this one.
All right. All right, here we go. We got Francisco Figueiredo versus Jerome Rivera. Francisco Figueiredo, the brother of Davidson Figueiredo. Now, that's not to say that these dudes fight the same at all. Francisco is green at the most, and he had a cage grab in his last 5 fights. He had that draw, 3 wins and a loss.
The ref actually took him directly to the middle of the octagon, took a point away right after he grabbed that cage fence. That's how oblivious it was. That's how bad it was.
Yeah, and then you got Jerome Rivera with 3 wins and 2 losses in his last 5, and it's had a pretty rough run, would you say?
Yeah, his luck has not been great. I first saw this guy back in LFA against Brandon Royval, where he was backed up against the fence early in the first round and somehow broke his arm. Poor guy couldn't defend himself. Ate a head kick, and that fight was stopped. Ironically, Brandon Royval just got his arm trapped and lost that fight to Marreira. So what comes around goes around. Jerome Rivera is. I don't think we've seen the best of him yet. I mean, he came into the UFC. He is 0-1 against Tyson, who's also on this card. And he got knocked out. But the first round, he was there. He was fighting. He wrestled and he controlled. And I might have even given him the round.
I think the thing to watch here is Francisco likes to switch stances. And I don't know how that's going to mess with Jerome Rivera. And I think Rivera has an opportunity because Francisco gets hit a lot from what I've seen. But I think Francisco Rivera's got the power and switching his stances, hitting him certain spots. Rivera doesn't have the wrestling, but he's very good at jiu-jitsu, so if it does go to the ground, that's worrisome. But I think that Figueiredo's going to get it done here.
It seems like a good matchup in these guys at points in their career. But I'm going to go with Jerome Rivera. I don't think we've seen the best out of him yet.
All right.
All right, guys, we got Dolce Ulimbula coming in at 10-2 versus Marcus Perez, 12-4. This is the tricky one. Dolce Ulimbula is a scary motherfucker. This guy has a world-class judo background, but you wouldn't know it because his career has been just wild haymakers and knockouts so far. What do you think, Chevy?
Yeah, Dolce, he was on a roll there. He got finished in his last one, but I don't think Marcus Perez.
Alkali, it's good competition.
Yeah,
that front kick was something special.
I don't think Marcus Perez has anything for Lugambula. Lugambula is going to throw, and he doesn't care because he's going to hit you, and he's going to put you to sleep. That's all I can tell you. There's no way I see Perez winning this fight, but he is a gamer, so he's going to make it interesting, but I don't think this is going all 3 rounds.
I will give Perez a chance. Perez came in his last fight, and he fought Priestess Du Plessis. Sorry if I messed that one up. Making his UFC debut, and he came out like a bat out of hell. He was throwing punches, throwing kicks, keeping him pressed up against the fence, and he got caught, and it was over. We've seen a lot of good out of him. He won the LFA title. He submitted Ian Heinisch. The only way I can see him doing something is keeping that pressure going and catching Lugambula throwing when he's looping punches. Because even in his highlight reel, you see him getting clipped before he knocks the dude out.
I mean, anything's possible. You've just seen Buckley get knocked out with a knee. That was crazy. A leg kick that turned into a knee to the face. So, I mean, I just can't see Perez winning this fight. He might think he can strike, but that might be his downfall because he's going to get hit and he's going to go to sleep.
He's got good pressure, and he needs to use it intelligently, but I'm also going to go with Dolce Ulimbula in this one.
Yeah.
Sue Menerde versus Zaruk Adeshev. Sumedej coming in 13-4. This guy is a striker, coming in with 3 wins and 2 losses in his last 5. He's questionable on the ground, this guy out of China, but he throws with intention to put you asleep. He has great distance control, 25 years young, and he is heavily favored in this matchup at a -400. What do you guys say about his opponent over there, Chevy?
Yeah, I don't know who is making the matchmaking for the UFC, but this is a kind of crazy fight set up for him. You got Modafferi here at 18th worldwide, and you got Adeshev at 77. So I mean that's a big gap right there, first of all. But you mentioned the wrestling. He went to Dagestan and sharpened that up. So I don't see anywhere that this guy's got a chance to beat Modafferi.
Well, Adeshev is coming out of glory. He had 13-3 record there with 5 knockouts. He's got good stand-up, but it hasn't necessarily transitioned into MMA the way he thought it would. He's young. He's older than his record shows at 3-2, and I think it may be too old to make that transition over to MMA. I am heavily favoring Sumedej by knockout in this fight.
As I might put him in as your MVP, and there's just no way.
That's a lock, guys. That's a lock.
That's the lock of the night.
All right, coming in next, we got Ricky Simone versus Gaetano Pirello making his debut. Ricky Simone coming in out of LFA as the champion. Made his UFC debut against Marib Telvishi, where he submitted him, and that guy is on a roll now. That's impressive. He also beat Ronnie Yaya by decision there. Since then, his career has been a little bit of a roller coaster. He dropped one Uriah Faber, which is a tough one. He got knocked out clean in that fight and came back and lost the decision to Rob Font, which you can't blame him for, even though the New England cartel ain't firing at all cylinders. His last fight was against Ray Borg, which he didn't show up as well as he would have expected from that previous record I just presented to you. His opponent, Gaetano Pirello, is coming out of Belgium, and what can you tell me about him, Chevy?
Gaetano, he's got some striking that could bother Ricky Simone here, but his competition that he's fought in really isn't that impressive. He's got a salty record, I think.
He's stuck out there in Eastern Europe, and he's coming off a 2-fight finish streak, but yeah. I agree with you there.
He's knocking out people. They're giving him bums, but he's beating them, so he's knocking them out.
He's got good Muay Thai. He closes the distance well. He throws elbows and knees well. He's powerful, but I don't know what kind of ground game this guy has at all.
I think, Ricky's going to exploit. Either he's going to exploit his ground game, or we're going to see how good his ground game is in this fight.
I actually think Ricky Simone is going to beat him on the feet in this fight. I think he's going to use his wrestling to make him think about those shots, and he's going to use his wrestling to set up those big shots on the feet. And I think Ricky Simone is going to have it's going to have another bump in his roller coaster here. I think it's going to tilt him in the other direction. I don't know how his career will go from there, but I'm taking Ricky Simone in this one.
Yeah, I think the UFC, they were trying to promote this guy. I think that they're giving this guy to him. I think Ricky Simone wins this fight. All right, here we go. We got Amari Ahmedov versus Tom Breeze. Tom Breeze in his last 5 fights, 3 wins, 2 losses. Amari Ahmedov in his last 5, 3 wins, a loss, and a draw. Ahmedov is the plus 130 underdog here in this fight, and then Tom Breeze is the minus 155 favorite. What are you going to say about this?
Well, Ahmedov comes in here with a 20-5 record, and he's a very well-rounded fighter. He leans on his wrestling, and against primary strikers and jiu-jitsu practitioners, it seems to work out for him. It seems to tire him out. It seems to control him. But against fellow wrestlers, see his last fight against Chris Weidman, where he lost that fight, he tired himself out wrestling, and that was a bad look because that fight was it was awful. I mean, I know you watched that one.
Yeah,
it was hard to watch. So coming off a loss like that, it's hard to put stock in a guy like this. But I do think he's more well-rounded than his opponent Tom Breeze, who's coming off a long layoff. What do you got to say about him?
Well, the thing is, in that loss, Ahmedov looked good in the first round against Weidman, and he's not going to come out here and put up another performance like he did against Chris Weidman. He's going to make sure he's ready. Coming out of Russia, those guys, they don't mess around. These guys are going to come out here and put on a show, I think. But I think Ahmedov is my pick of the night too, because Master of Sambo as well. He's gonna do it. I think he's gonna do it.
Tom Breeze reminds me a lot of He's a good striker, and he keeps it long. He knows how to defend takedowns. He knows to get back up if he gets put in that position. It's just I know he's had problems with nerves in the past, and it's a hard thing to see in the fight game. I might regret this decision later on, but I'm definitely going with him.
Yeah, look for him in the parlay.
Yeah, Jerome Murphy making his fight against Douglas Silva DeAndrade. We got Jerome Murphy coming in at 9-0-1. He's got one draw on his record. This is his third UFC appearance coming out of England. In his last fight, he fought to a draw against Cherkogov. You might remember for punching Conor McGregor after the Khabib fight. It was a tough fight. It was a really tough fight. It was close, and I actually scored that one a draw too. Usually when I'm talking about fights that are called a draw, I'm siding one way or the other. But Jerome Murphy, he's got a good style. He wants to strike, but he doesn't overstrike. He knows the risk of going to the ground, and he can fight there as well. What can you tell me about DeAndrade?
Well, I think that it's kind of something we just seen in Fight Island 7. I think DeAndrade is going to be fighting two people this week. He's going to be fighting Leon Murphy, and then he's going to be fighting Father Time. And like I say, if you know me, I don't really like these older fighters. I think that this is going to be one of those situations where Murphy's going to have to survive round one. The physicality is crazy that he brings, that Silva brings. But Murphy is just good all around. I think that he is really one of these guys from England that's going to stick around and put some records up in the UFC from England.
Yeah, he's got a smart style, too. He doesn't put himself in bad positions. And Nurmagomedov is actually a common opponent between these guys, which Jerome Murphy going to draw was actually the better in that one. DeAndrade did not have a good stylistic matchup against him, and he ended up losing that one. But I agree with you talking about Father Time. The experience is definitely there for DeAndrade, making his debut back in 2011. But at 37, how much does he have left in the tank?
And he's got a 4-inch reach advantage in this fight. So he's going to have to close the distance De Silva is, and it's going to be harder than he thinks it's going to be, I think.
I don't think it'll be easy, but I think Jerome Murphy will take out the strict veteran.
All right. All right, here we go. We got Tyson Nam versus Matt Schnell. Tyson Nam, his last 5 fights, 3 wins, 2 losses. And Matt Schnell, in his last 5 fights, 4 wins and a loss. His loss is the most recent fight. Tyson Nam is the minus 135 favorite. Matt Schnell is a plus 110 underdog. What do you got in this fight, James?
Well, I like Matt Schnell. I saw him coming up as the LFC champ, and I actually watched the series of The Ultimate Fighter Tough 24 that he was on, where he lost in the finale to Rob Font. No hard grace there. But Matt Schnell has got a really excellent ground game. He just he needs to use his striking to set that up, and that sometimes can get him in trouble. And Tyson Nam on the other side of this is 37 years old, and it's time to start wondering if the UFC just got a hold of him a little bit too late. But coming off of, he has actually knocked out 2 people that are actually on this card, and Jerome Rivera and Nadasha, both in an emphatic fashion. So at 37 years old, it's do or die for this guy. And after seeing the Hawaiian fight tonight, it's hard to pick against him, don't you think, Chevy?
Max Holloway did look good, but I'm going to go with Matt Schnell. I think the key for him to get this fight done is he's going to have to get in there and make it dirty on the feet, get in close, and work his wrestling. If he tries to stay on the outside with Tyson Nam, he's going to get pieced up. Tyson Nam's got power, but I agree with you on the he's gotten in the UFC too late.
I wouldn't bet a first-round finish on either guy in this fight because I think both guys are going to take a little bit of time to get used to their opponent. Nam, differently than Schnell, Nam is going to have to take some time to set up that perfect punch to knock out Schnell. Schnell, on the other hand, is going to have to use his striking to set up a little bit of a scramble because when it starts to hit the ground, I've seen Schnell lock up submissions before it even hits the ground. So he's quick on that. So it's going to be a race to see who can get to their game plan faster. And I'm taking Tyson Nam in that one.
All right, you're on Tyson Nam. I'm on Matt Schnell. All right, here we go. In this fight, we got Roxanne Modafferi versus Viviana Araujo. Roxanne, in her last 5 fights, is 3 wins and 2 losses, and Vivian 4 wins and 1 loss. Vivian is a minus 345 favorite, and Modafferi, in her usual rule, the plus 250 underdog, and she likes to ruin people's parlays and bets.
So we'll not bet on with this one, folks.
What do you got?
Well, Roxanne Modafferi coming in at 25-18 is a pioneer of the sport. Most girls didn't even know about fighting until Ronda Rousey came along, where Roxanne actually made her debut back in 2010, believe it or not. Her career has been a mixed bag, but they're always crafty. Happy Warrior has recently put the division on notice by dominating rising star Macy Barber, as everybody remembers. Big upset. It hurt our parlays, but sure it hurt yours. She has since had one win and 2 losses. She needs this one.
I think Roxanne might be the better fighter on the ground. Probably is the better fighter on the ground. But the thing is, Vivian has a 92% takedown defense. And in the standing, you got Vivian with a 51% accuracy striking and Roxanne with 31%. So Roxanne's strike is not really the greatest. And she's kind of like the Ben Askren of the women's division with the punching. She's just kind of whipping the punches in there and not really. She's gotten better, but it's not as good as Vivian's. And I don't know if you notice this or not, when you watch Modafferi fight, she's always blinking.
Mm-hmm.
That's not good. I don't know. I've taken Vivian in this fight.
Yeah, Viviana coming in at 9-2, 4 fights into her UFC stint is 3-1, and she boasts wins over Tassili Virgo, Alexa Davis, and Monte De La Rosa as of late. Her lone loss coming to Jessica Ai, which is she's a well-rounded opponent. She's kind of in there, not really in the mix, but it's a litmus test. It tested her, and she lost. But she wants this one. She's hungry. She's a better striker, I believe. And I just think that the hunger in this one is going to outweigh the experience that Roxanne has, and I think Vivian's going to take it.
All right, we're both on Vivian. All right, here we go. We got Ike Villanueva versus Vinicius Marreira. Ike Villanueva in his last 5 fights is 3 wins and 2 losses. His 2 losses coming recently, and Vinicius Marreira 3 losses and 2 wins in his last 5. These two are near betting evens, so it's kind of a pick 'em at this point. Villanueva, 36 years old. He's at the end of his tenure in the UFC. Probably, if he loses this fight, I'd say the loser of this fight is getting cut from the UFC.
Maybe even the winner.
Yeah, maybe the winner. These two are pretty garbage, pretty much. I don't see this fight being more entertaining than the women's fight that we just had with Sarah Morris and Vanessa Mello. What do you think?
I'm going to start with Villanueva, 16-11. And I'm going to say the only good thing I have to say about him, he has 13 KO finishes. He's coming off back-to-back KO losses over Chase, the Vanilla Grilla Sherman, and Jordan Wright, who I had no stock in going into that Buckley fight. And after how Buckley was finished tonight, hate to say when I'm right, but I'm right. On the other side of here, we have Vicious Marreira, who coming in at 9-4, coming in on a 3-fight losing streak. 2 Alonzo Menafield, Eric Anders, and Paul Craig. Paul Craig, that one I'll give you. But Eric Anders, at this stage in your career, you should not lose to. And I don't think there's any excuse for that. He has 8 subs on his career, and it's easy to see where these guys want it. Both guys are 0-5 together by finish in their last fights. If you're counting. So Marreira is gonna go in there, and if he can get it to the ground and submit Ike Villanueva, I think he'll have a good night. But on the other side of that, I think Ike Villanueva is going to try and keep standing. Please do not spend your hard-earned money on this fight. Donate it to your local charity or whatnot. This one's a wash, but I'm going to take Ike Villanueva on the off chance it doesn't hit the ground.
Here's my hard take on it. I'd say if Marreira can get the fight to the ground, it's over. If Villanueva can stay up and standing, it's going to be over. I say Villanueva probably wins by knockout. If you have a lineup, put him in it. It's probably going to be a cheap play.
If you're a smoker, this is a good time for a break.
Yeah.
All right, folks, coming in for our co-main event, we got Warlley Alves coming in at 13-4 versus Monirliz. Warlley Alves is primarily a grappler. He's a tough dude. He's strong. He's big. But it really depends what Warlley Alves we actually get on fight night. He has some notable wins on his career. He has beaten the likes of Colby Covington. He choked him out, made him tap. It's great. Go back and watch it. It is the most satisfying thing you'll see tonight. I guarantee it. Just the super inconsistency, really, it's hard to give you guys advice to bet on someone when we don't know what we're gonna get out of him. His counter from him is Monirliz, the sniper, fighting out of Dubai. It is definitely a showcase for him here. His last time out, he debuted against Razak Al Hassan, he came out in his last fight and got knocked out, but it was a much different fight against Lizette. He was at his top form there. And they fought a very difficult fight, but Monirliz's striking is just fluid. It looks effortless. The other guy doesn't see it coming. It doesn't look like he's snapping anything too hard or extending into anything. It really is beautiful to watch. And I think that Dubai, being in Abu Dhabi, promoting Fight Island, I think they're looking to give him a KO win over a worthy opponent, and I'm taking Lizette by knockout in this one.
Yeah, I mean, Lizette, he's got the 4-inch reach advantage in his fight, and Worley's just kind of fallen off a cliff. I would say it's because of age, but he's only 30 years old. And I think it's one of those MMA years things where he's just not the same. I mean, Worley's definitely going to be game for this fight, but I think Lizette, the way he is on the feet, is too good, and going to keep the fight at distance and win this one. I don't know if he gets the knockout, but I definitely say he wins the fight.
It'll be a great test as well because Worley Alves is coming in fighting some of the best guys in the division. Like I said, he beat Colby Covington. He actually has a loss to Usman, who is now our champion. So it just puts that much stock into what he actually can do if he comes to fight. I just don't know what version of him I'm going to get. And the last time I saw Lizette, I was pleasantly surprised by what I saw, and I loved it. So I'm really high on Lizette in this fight.
It might be a little bit of recency bias for us, but we're going to go with Lizette.
Or they have to show up. All right, guys, it's time for our main event. We got Michael Chiesa up against Neal Magny. Michael Chiesa coming in at 16-4, 2-3 in his last, or 3-2 in his last 5. Commentator now, everybody knows him. He's grapple heavy. His wrestling has gotten better. And I'll be honest, I wasn't a big fan of this guy down at lightweight, but up at welterweight, he seems like a different beast. And on the other side, we have Neal Magny, who I've always been a big fan of. He's coming in at 24-7. He's 4-1 in his last 5 fights, being the -140 favorite. I see it that way as well. Neal Magny really puts his skills together very well. I've watched this guy develop in the UFC over the years, and I really like what I've seen out of him. He's fought high-level competition. And being that his last loss was a knockout loss over Ponzinibbio, who just dropped a KO loss to Jinlang Sang in the current Holloway Cater fight. That fight was 2 years ago. That was after the layoff. That was a different Ponzinibbio. And I think since then, Ponzinibbio's obviously gotten a little worse. I think Neal Magny has gotten ages better here. What do you think?
I think if you watch Neal Magny, when he is fighting up against the cage, when he's getting pushed up against the cage, I've noticed, he likes to get wrist control. And Michael Chiesa's biggest thing he's going to have in this fight is wrestling. And if Neal Magny can negate that, Neal Magny's going to easily win the striking, in my opinion. And Michael Chiesa, there's this talk about how he's on a different weight now. He's going to move all the way up to the title, and he wants to win the title. But I think that he's got a better chance at commentating, to be honest. He did take a lot out of himself with the weight cuts, but looking different at welterweight. He's been looking really good, but Neal Magny is just a different beast. I think that he's top 5 within the year 2021. And this is the same guy that was calling out Khamzat when Khamzat needed an opponent. So Neal Magny's really confident right now.
He's game. He's ready to fight.
He's confident right now. I'm taking Neal Magny in this fight. What do you said you see on Neal Magny?
I'm definitely taking Neal Magny in this fight. I didn't like Chiesa. I didn't like him when I watched him fight Kevin Lee. He was out grappled in that fight, and that's a strong suit. Since then, he's put together some notable wins, and I can see why he's here. Being in the broadcast booth and everything might have given him a little boost. But I saw an interview where I saw Neal Magny talking about that, and he said he's going to make Chiesa regret taking this fight, and that he feels like he probably deserves higher competition, that Chiesa's the guy in the booth and got this fight because of that. And I like that mentality out of Magny. I think he thinks he deserves more. I think he's going to prove it on Wednesday.
Yeah. So don't forget also that this fight on the Eastern Zone starts at 9 a.m. So I mean, most of us aren't gonna get to watch this because we're at work.
We'll be at work.
But the prelims are at 9 a.m. The main card starts at 12. We're both on Magny. Hopefully we can get this card pretty good.
Yeah. Hopefully it goes better than last week. I mean, we tried our best, guys.
There's a lot of underdogs that won last week. It doesn't happen often.
Yeah. Best is still blessed, though. That's all I gotta say.